will be very much on the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody else got that, but Clive, you seem to have acquired a very bad stutter. Not you, of course, probably your machine. Anyway, going back to the grants, yeah. Alex and Sophie alluded to the fact that these are grants for one-off projects. They're not revenue grants. You know, you can't. We've got an organisation. It costs us 50 quid a week. Can you help us out? This is for getting things off the ground, and as I said, a one-off. And it's good that we have got this £3,000. I mean, us poor oiks who aren't on the cabinet or in the ruling group don't get much power, so £3,000 is welcome, and we're always open to suggestions from our constituents.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Terry, because we've lobbied for long and hard, or many years, that some expenditure could be delegated down to ward level, and as a result of us lobbying the budget and giving this thing for 1 year anyway, we've got £3,000 per ward. So we really look forward to those community groups and projects coming forward. But it does give us, we often get residents saying we could do with a bench here or an additional waste bin there, and such things. And this gives us an opportunity as ward councillors to say yes to that, rather than having to wait the snail's pace process to get a new waste bin. So that's really good. Thank you.
I'd just like to make it clear, Keith, that from what Terry was saying, that it, as well as one-off sort of projects or like something like a bench, that we do use it sometimes to kickstart ongoing projects.
Oh yeah, most certainly, yeah.
Like
to
the North Town, kickstart the North Town Seniors Club, which needed to be set up and needed some money in advance to get it going. So yeah, there is the opportunity for people who want to start those sort of community groups as well.
Correct. Very good point. Right, Alex, can we just come to you for care homes before we get on to the local ward issues? Care homes, a topic that you've been driving over the last week, and got some really good cross-party working on this, and got some acknowledgement from our county councillors on this. So well done, Alex. But give us an update on what you've done on that.
Yeah, sure. I think myself really, and Sophie and Mark Roberts really came to realise several weeks ago that care homes was a big issue in the borough. There are many of them, and so I started probing with Rushmore what was being done about it through the local resilience forum and so on, and couldn't get very much answer. So at the beginning of this week, I started a survey, just put it online to see what people in care homes, whether they're carers or residents or family or so on, considered was happening. And it was a bit shocking. So I put this through to the local resilience forum, which is headed up by Karen Edwards, a director at Rushmore Borough Council. I put it to Bill Withers, the Hampshire County Councillor, and they came back to me pretty quickly. Bill Withers rang round all the care homes that he had in his division, and Karen Edwards had a special meeting with the Hampshire Resilience Forum to discuss it, and they've assured me that from next week they will be increasing their communications much better with the care homes in Rushmore to find out what's going on. The difficulty is people working in care homes, they are really under pressure, and they're feeling that pressure because of the lack of personal protection equipment. Some care homes at management are saying you don't need personal protection equipment for the people you're dealing with. Well, that doesn't help the staff who feel vulnerable. They want the best protection they can get. And this was reinforced, this kind of division between the managements and the care home staff was reinforced by an article in The Guardian yesterday that came from a whistleblowing organisation called Compassion in Care, where they'd come up with the fact that several care home staff had been threatened with a sack because they were asking for PPE, personal protection equipment, which their management weren't going to give them. And this just isn't the right atmosphere to get these people to be working in. And I noticed yesterday that the local government association also came out saying much more needs to be done by the government to support people in care homes. So I think we're doing our bit locally. We've got the cooperation of Rushmore Borough Council. We've got the cooperation of our local county councillors. It's just getting the Hampshire County Council and the government to do what they should be doing, which is offering real support to people in care homes.
Thank you, Alex. A really important issue, and I think it's quite clear, despite the spinning, that care homes were not at the forefront or the top of the government's agenda, and have almost were an afterthought. So, but again, anyone got any feedback or comments on Alex's contribution?
Yes, Keith, I'd just like to say that Unison have put out a whistleblowing line, and if you would like to report something, you can go to Unison, which is www.unison.org.uk. I'll check that and to go through that way.
Yeah, sure. If I can just add that I did forward my report to the Care and Quality Commission and got an acknowledgement from them that they'd received it. And also I did forward the report to the whistleblowing organisation Compassion in Care. And so I'm quite happy to, if Sophie would like to forward the report to Unison, because I think, you know, effectively there are a number of people in Rushmore care homes who have blown the whistle.
Councillor Nadia, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, can anyone report to Unison, or do they have to be a member of Unison?
I think the line, the way that it is at the moment, it would be okay to report.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, just picking up on what Alex said, and also what Gaynor and Christine said, it's quite, you know, what's a good thing is at a very local level here at Rushmore, that the cross-party working, I think, has been really, really, really first class. Those petty party barriers and nitpicking that we're all guilty of, including one or two of us on this call, maybe even the host of this meeting, are guilty of. But I think over the last 6 weeks, you've seen a maturity locally where decisions are being made for the best of everyone, rather than point scoring. So one hopes that at the end of whenever this awful virus is overcome, that we can have a more mature approach from politics at all levels. But that remains to be seen. But thank you for that, Alex, raising that really important point. We now move on to ward issues. This gives the ward councillors to give an update on issues in their own patch, but also allow any questions from the public if they're online, or picking up the theme of questions they've had over the last week or so. So let's start with our colleagues in Aldershot Park. Sophie and Terry, what are the key issues for you?
Shall I go first then? Because one of the big problems we've been having, and I'm sure you've all been having, is fly tipping. Now, this is not just the COVID-19 and the shutdown, of course. Labour councillors have been warning about an increase in fly tipping for a couple of years now, since the county council started cutting their budgets. Now it's got even worse, and I'm not sure, though, that all of them are actually to do with COVID-19. Quite a lot of them are people who fly tip because they fly tip. But certainly there's been an increase in it since the COVID-19 thing. The good news is that the county council are considering reopening waste sites next week. And I don't know, I haven't actually seen any details. I don't know whether hours are due to be done, but it would be good if they are. But as I said, I wouldn't rely on that being a complete cure, because a lot of these people who fly tip just fly tip because they fly tip, and not because of lack of facilities. Yeah, that's my rant as well.
Thank you, Councillor Bridgman. Councillor Porter, Sophie.
Yeah, we've quite with more people being at home, we've had a few reports about noise pollution from neighbours. And people, because they're home, the sun's shining, they're turning their music up, and sometimes people don't realise the effect that can have on your neighbours or people around you. So really, just to be mindful about the sound that's coming out of your house.
So a couple of questions for me to Sophie and Terry. The Lido, what's happening on that?
It's not going to open this year, that's for certain. Which means it's going to be difficult for next year because it's going to be extra maintenance, of course. They've got to keep the thing under in working order, stop it from seizing up or rusting up. So they've still got to carry that on, still got to pay for that. But the latest we've heard is no intention of opening it this year. Alex might know a bit more about that because of his close association with the Lido, of course.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that is a situation that I think the emphasis is on planning for the future. But who knows? In 9 months' time, we might have a clearer picture of what as people are calling it, the new future is going to be. But that until we see how this COVID-19 pandemic settles down or doesn't settle down, we're not going to be able to make any realistic plans about the Lido.
Thank you. Any other points or comments about Aldershot Park? No, let's move on then to Cherrywood. Ashley, Christine and Clive, what are your top topics at the moment?
Yes, I speak. The first thing I can see is that the Moor Road Playground, the contractors are coming back Monday to start and finish off. They have about 2 weeks' works left, and they're going to finish off and landscape. And the procurement's gone in for the finishing off of the Moor Road itself, the complete park itself, with gyms and skate parks and pump tracks and such like. So that's good news on that front.
Christine, Ashley, any topics?
Yeah, so we've had a bit of a drug problem. We've still got a bit of a drug problem, but we've had quite a few drug raids going on, and hopefully it will start getting better. There have been the same people that have been raided. There have been issues, and I know Vivid have now stepped up and got involved, so that's hopefully going to make a good turn on it as well. We have got an awful lot of bike thefts and car break-ins at the moment. I know we're working with the police to try and get the people caught that are doing it. I would just like to reiterate, please, if it happens, your bike gets stolen or your car smashed, please report it to the police. Even if you think, oh, they're not going to do anything, they're not going to come out, just please report it. We have to have all the incidents reported. The more they get reported, the more they know there's a problem, the higher police presence that we hopefully get in the ward. And on a bright note, I would just like to say to our residents in our wards how fantastic all their chalked rainbows and messages to all the key workers. They just look so cheery and fantastic as you walk around the ward and see everyone's walls decorated. Keep it up, it looks fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it'll be said by us all. Ashley.
The only other thing really, obviously the same with all wards, is the fly tipping. The last couple of days have probably been the worst. Obviously I'm shielded at the moment, I can't really go out, but I am allowed one walk out, so I've taken it upon myself to walk around the entire ward daily and try and report anything as and when it comes up. But obviously it's getting more and more difficult as people are building up stuff in their houses and Hampshire aren't opening their tips.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, let's move on to North Town and ask my colleague, Councillor Austin Gaynor, to give us an update on some topics.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. I think you'll agree with me that the key topics for North Town at the moment, which we've been highlighting on here for North Town, are the Ivy Road tip, as we've spoken about, which is obviously being in our ward. There will be concerns about traffic congestion when it opens, as you mentioned. I would like to say that I don't know how you feel, Keith, but I actually would like to praise the residents of North Town. I know there's been some grumbling, understandably, about the tips not being open and people having to just sort of hoard stuff that they'd normally take down there. But I don't think we've actually really had a real problem with fly tipping.
No, I agree completely. Nothing along the lines that you and I spoke of some weeks ago.
No, I think we have to, give North Town residents a lot of credit there.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, so obviously Ivy Road tip, and thinking, because I'm thinking about the traffic issues when it does open, simply because we had an example of that yesterday when KFC opened for not only for delivery drivers but also for members of the public to go and pick up takeaways with the drive-through. Living directly opposite, of course, it's been so peaceful over the last couple of weeks at what I call the McDonald's junction, but the North Lane, North Close, Lower Newport Road junction, which obviously we've highlighted for a long time as being a dangerous junction. And like I say, I hear lots of the noise of cars, slamming on their brakes, skidding, beeping at each other, people getting out and arguing, and prangs, and people being knocked off bikes. So it's been absolutely fantastic to have total peace and quiet at the junction recently. But I did notice yesterday some noises started picking up again. Went out to have a look, and yeah, North Close, all of the members of the public were having to go down due to the North Close entrance to KFC. The Ash Road one was kept simply for delivery drivers, and the members of the public, it was just going back way along North Lane. They had one person out in a high-vis jacket who I went and spoke to, who, bless him, had no idea really. He could only keep an eye on the actual cars in North Close itself, which isn't very long. The trail back all along North Lane. Obviously, he's not a policeman. There's nothing that he could do about it. Cars were then pulling out quite dangerously into the opposite lane to bypass the tailbacks of traffic quite far back, causing what could be another nasty accident. So this is an issue which we will be raising with all appropriate parties who have any influence and input with regards to that. I think that really it's also going to mean that we need to work closely with McDonald's if and when they start to reopen for business, because the junction could be even more dangerous than it usually is. The other big issue, of course, is our North Town post office, which, as we know, we've been working on for a long time to make sure that we maintain that service in North Town for North Town residents. And now that the post office is in danger of closing, as the property has been sold to a new owner. We are working, as you know, Keith, quite hard with lots of different organisations, including Rushmore Borough Council, who have agreed to support the post office for the next few months while we can get a plan in place for it either to be moved to another retail outlet locally, or to set up as a community post office. So we will also be hoping to set up a local group to drive that forward, to look at working together in order to bid for the contract as a community post office. And anybody who has a particular interest, has time on their hands, has experience of this, has skills, or just an interest in keeping the post office local, can get in touch with us. I will put details on here for North Town later, or otherwise people can just contact myself or you, Keith, at Rushmore. So it would be gaynor.austin@rushmore.gov.uk or keith.dibble@rushmore.gov.uk. They can contact us that way as well.
Thank you, Gaynor. Can I just add to that? I mean, this is an example where cross-party working has had to happen and been successful. You'll recall a year ago, this was a very topical issue in the local elections, and with some silly comments made by some of our opponents. Rather than seeking publicity, we took the view actually just to work with the owner, with the post office, with the Plunkett Foundation, who advise on community bids, and Rushmore, which led to myself with Gaynor and Frank's support to address Cabinet and ask for financial support, and that was agreed. So it does show that you can work together and can achieve a good outcome. But as Gaynor said, yeah, we're really looking for people interested in joining, and that's the word consortium or a group that are being formed. The social housing provider are very keen to support, and the post office have effectively given 6 months for a community bid to be made. So let's have that volunteers come forward for that. One extra point from just going back to.
Sorry, I was just going to say about the White Lion is obviously looking to become a community-run pub, and they've done a lot of work with the Plunkett Foundation.
Yeah.
Have you contacted any members from that group?
I hadn't, to be honest, I hadn't even thought, I wasn't even aware of it. I knew they've got a community bid, but that may be useful. And I think Gaynor and I can talk to you outside of the meeting for those contacts.
Yeah, and I think Aldershot Civic Society as well. Do you think so, Sophie? Because they've been involved with the White Line closely also.
They have, yes, and I know there's some really good North Town residents that are involved. So I'll let you know about them.
But that's good, and I think we're going to put that. Gaynor's going to post something on Facebook in the near future, so we can get a proper community bid. One other, just saying, I spoke to a friend last night who. Family were in complete boredom, so they thought they would drive from Farnham to the KFC in Aldershot, and they had to queue for 2.5 hours to get their food.
Please get a takeaway. Phone Deliveroo or whoever and get them.
Well, KFC will deliver. That's the thing; they will deliver to you. But 2.5 hours for that 20 minutes is hardly worth it, is it? But anyway, and one final thing, which has been a real problem. In North Town over the last few weeks, but a problem really for about 18 months, where there are a couple that, and I hate to use this term, and if the Daily Mail used it, I'd probably go mad, but they are professional beggars. They claim to be homeless. They claim to have all sorts of things. In fact, they're tenants of a social landlord in North Town. They are well provided by the benefit system, but there is a fear from Gaynor and myself and other residents that they can be a bit aggressive towards certainly elderly people, and we're a bit worried that people might take the law into their own hands, which of course they mustn't do. They must contact the police, and Gaynor and I are working with the social landlord and the police, and we've put pressure on that they will finally take action. At the moment, for the past couple of years, they just tend to politely ask them to move on, and they do, but they come back. And I don't know if other colleagues have noticed that because of effectively the close down of the town centres, that one or two people are starting to drift out who may be doing something similar in the town centre to the neighbourhood shopping areas. So just something to be wary of. But also for anyone from North Town, please don't take action yourself. Please contact the police. 101, and I know that's a bind and it's a pain, but you can do it online, or if someone's being aggressive, just call 999. But please be reassured that as a result of all the feedback from local residents, Gaynor and myself have been able to lobby the police and the social housing provider, their landlord, to take action, and that could be very serious for those individuals. Thank you.
Can I say just say it? Sorry, Keith.
Yeah, please do. Come in, Terry.
Yeah, we're having the same problem. I think it's probably the same couple actually that you're talking about at the shops by the Heron. There's been a few incidents on that. And Keith, just a warning. I know you're having problems already with Kentucky Fried or whatever, but the county council reckon that if or when they open that the Ivy Road facility again on the week beginning the 11th of May, that there will be queues for that as well. So I think you're going to have a few traffic problems in North Lane over the next couple of weeks.
And I think, as Gaynor said, it's right that we're flagging that up now because, there does need to be some sort of traffic control. But you could have a round trip, couldn't you? An 8-hour trip to the tip of KFC, couldn't you? Get a pack.
Yeah. Make a day of it.
That is, yeah. Okay, thanks, Terry. A really good point. Let's move on to our colleagues in Wellington, Nadia and Alex.
Yeah. So shall I start, Alex? Okay. So we've had theft from vehicles as well, and property crime. And I've got some leaflets here, which I got from the neighbourhood policing team, and I'll upload those to the Here For pages after this surgery. But you can also go on to hampshire.police.uk, and there's a section called Tell Us About, and if you click on something you've seen or heard, that builds up. It's like a puzzle for the police. They won't do anything straight away because it's not it might not be an emergency, but they build up the puzzle, and every little information they get helps them help you. So that is the issue here. We're in Wellington, and Alex could probably talk about the town centre.
On my visits to the town centre, it's completely empty, so I haven't got anything very much to say other than the demolition seems to be going ahead in Union Street.
Yes.
And we'll just have to see how that works out. The Cabinet is due to consider due diligence on the report going forward about the town centre, about the Union Street development sometime in the next 3 months. And so we'll see how that project goes forward. What I would like to just comment on is the issue with the Gurkha veterans, because I have close contacts as a trustee of Nepalese Help. And what they report to me is that nationally, there have been some 44 deaths from COVID-19 among Gurkha veterans. But within Rushmore, there haven't been any. And they put this down to the fact that, and I think we may well have observed that ourselves, they are very keen locally to respect social distancing. And so from that point of view, it's been great that we've been able to work with the Gurkha veterans locally. They have their own advice line through Rushmore Citizens Advice, where they can phone in, speak to someone in their own language and get advice about any problems they have. And so it's great news that they've been able to protect themselves like that. And let's hope that that goes forward in that kind of way. Thank you very much.
Keith, your mic's off.
Some people have got their wish. The military families, how are they getting, I think you said before, some extra support? Is the welfare there? Are they more in evidence at the moment, or?
Yeah, the welfare are there, but they can also call on the council. They have the same support as anyone else from the council, but I think everyone's coping quite well.
Good, that's good to hear. And I think as a borough, I think as everyone said earlier on, we are somewhere we would rather not be, but in a pretty good shape with lots of good support services.
Yeah.
So any other issues at local level that we need to highlight?
No,
Okay,
can I just say,
please carry on. Yeah, please carry on.
It was Christine said about bicycle theft and everything, and there's a website called www.immobilize.com where you can register all your property for free. If you have the like a serial number, you can enter that, and if it's ever stolen and found by the police, then you're more likely to get your item back.
Good, thank you.
Just on the local level, Keith, the cogs, the larder, are looking for donations for tinned meat, breakfast cereals, and small snacks as well, because they're running short of them.
Okay, good. That's a really, I think, comprehensive view.
Sorry, can I just mention to Clive, I don't know what links the larder has, but certainly the Princess Hall Food Bank and the Vine Centre, they've made direct links with the local supermarkets in order to make sure that the local supermarkets are providing any surplus food and that kind of thing to them. So for the larder, you know, I would think perhaps the supermarkets in Farnborough, perhaps they could be approached, but they may already be doing that. I don't know.
In our 4 wards, and thank you, ward councillors, for that. Moving on now to some entertainment. We go to our entertainment correspondent, Halle, to give us an update on what's available online.
Good morning, all. A lot being streamed online this week. I'll start with my favorite. The Tutankhamun treasure can be seen online. The actual exhibition is closed, but the organizer have created a short video, a virtual tour, which is really interesting. And the good thing about it, on that site, there is good description of all the items that they cover in the video. So it'd be great to watch it with the kids, or if, like me, you can just watch it yourself. If you're interested in arts, Draw Space offers free and as well as paid drawing lessons for beginners, intermediate, and advanced artists. It sort of covers quite a lot, and it can be sort of looked at on www.drawspace.com. There's a YouTube channel, Wow Art, which actually you can sort of take advantage of the resources there if you're doing self-isolating. There are 30 minutes tutorial that they can be used. Any of the house items that can be used to do the drawing. Theatre at home, there's a lot happening again on that side. This week, the National Theatre Art Home is screening the Danny Boyle directed production of Frankenstein. And it's free. You just have to subscribe to the YouTube. It's www.nationaltheatre.org.uk, NT at home. And Andrew Lloyd Webber YouTube channel is showing the Andrew Lloyd Webber, the Royal Albert Hall celebration. This week is free again and is available for 48 hours. It started yesterday. I suggest if you want to watch it, try to watch it today. And I think that's all for me this week. I'll put all those on the actual sort of chat line, or the links, so you can access it. There's a lot more happening actually. I don't know whether you're interested. If you're interested in Klimt, Gustav Klimt, there is an art webinar for kids of 6 to 9 years old. It is happening on 5th of May. It is paid actually. You have to pay £4.36 for the an hour and a half the webinar. But if you're interested in that and you want children to do something, that's a good thing to look into this as well. I'll include that link as well. So I think that's it. That's all from me this week.
Thank you. Very, again, comprehensive. Hash, I think there's 1 or 2 comments coming in. Is that right? The producer's gone on mute. Look, the producer's gone on mute.
Still on mute, Hash.
Well, I mean, thank you, Jim. Jim is a real character from North Lane. Now, Jim, I would say that once they saw your name, they thought they better deliver it quickly. But I think, joking apart, that just shows that if you place an order, you'll get it in minutes. If you go and queue, you'll get in half a day. So very
Can
sound
I actually
advice.
just come in on that one, Keith? Because one of the things I did witness yesterday was people who had gone to go through the drive-through, got stuck in such a huge queue of traffic that they actually quite inventively decided it was quicker than in their car to phone Deliveroo or whoever it was, get them to collect it, deliver it to their car in the queue. So it's just crazy. So I think absolutely, as I said before, that Jim's absolutely right. You know, if you do want it, then get it delivered, please.
Well, I couldn't see Jim spending 2.5 hours queuing, but there we are. That's really good feedback, actually. Any more comments, Hash? Nadia, over to you.
Yes. So the green bins and the blue bins are will remain to be collected on a fortnightly basis, and I believe this week coming will be the green bins along with the garden waste, but that can be confirmed on the Hampshire website.
Good.
Just enter your address and it'll tell you which bins are being collected on what day or date.
Yeah.
No, that's not right. Not everybody is having their brown bins done this week. Some have already done it.
Right.
I had mine cleared on Wednesday, a full bin and 20 bags.
Yes, that's why you check.
It's only half of us had it this week and the other half next week.
Okay, so it's fair to say that.
So you need to check. Need to post to the council's website to find out if it's this week or next week.
Yeah.
But certainly it was this week because I've had mine done.
Yeah. And half the borough, it sounds of it, Terry. So, green bin this week, but check if you're a subscriber to the garden waste collection. Check online at Rushmore. Put your postcode or address in and it will confirm the date it's being collected.
Yeah.
Good.
And the 3 weeks that were missed will be added onto the subscription.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah,
Anything else, director, producer? Councillor Porter.
Oh, yes, I'm ever so sorry. I'm having a few little technical issues today. I know I'm not set up very well today. So,
let me do it for you, Sophie.
Pardon?
Hello? You want me to do it for you?
If you want to.
It really sound like you're busy doing something else.
Well, she's a star of media, so she expects it. You know, she expects the camera crew to turn up on her doorstep. I expect.
Terry,
this is the way it works.
Terry, go ahead. Councillor Bridgman, go ahead.
Right, Hash. Everyone get a grant of £3,000, which the council spend. Completely autonomous. Nobody can interfere with their decisions. But you heard earlier on that there's certain restrictions. They're not actual restrictions, but they're advisory. But we can give these grants to whoever we wish. But you have to have at least 2 councillors, i.e. a majority in the ward, agree to each one. So if you want one to tap into these wards, you contact your local councillor first, who will then make sure you get the appropriate application form, and they will consider whether to approve it or not.
Thank you, Terry. I think what we'll do is on our Here For pages, we will post the guidelines for the new scheme, but we'll also post, and I think we've probably done this already, but we'll post in full the last 4 years grants awarded for the 13 wards. So residents will be able to see the type of organisations and projects that have benefited in the past. But if you take Cherrywood, in the last year, when they had £1,000, it was £250 to MCP, which is what, Christine? MCP?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. MCP is Mayfield Community Partnership.
Yeah, 250, and that was their 25th anniversary. £250 to the Mustard Seed Autism. £250 to PEBL, Pebble. What's that, Clive? Or Christine?
That was due to the bench grant, so we could implement putting in some of the work for the benches that go round the estate.
But Pebble is the Prospect Estate organisation.
Prospect local, yes.
Yeah, and £250 to Home Start. In Aldershot Park, it was £500 to Home Start, £250 to the Aldershot Baptist Church. For what was that, Sophie?
That was for their community children's play group that they have, and that was for them.
The 5th Aldershot Brownies, £125.
So they are a local scout group, but they have lots of children from the ward, and it was for them to they were looking at doing a camping activity. So they were going to look to buy some equipment for that activity for the children to go and partake on a camping trip.
Yeah.
That's
and
super.
Parkside, £125.
So Parkside have been looking for donations for refreshments to run as part of their scheme, where they've got a garden scheme and they've got people coming in, so they're going to have a big garden party, and they wanted some support for that event.
Okay, North Town, it was again, I can clarify this, £200 for I Have Rights Too.
Yes, so that was it's an organisation that's set up to remember babies that have been miscarried or lost at a young age. And as people may have seen in the media, Angela, who set up the group, had a beautiful sculpture made, or carving, to put in Aldershot Cemetery, which unfortunately was vandalised when it was put up. So money was put towards getting that back in place, and having a stronger plinth and connection to it, so it can't be vandalised so easily.
Yeah. Then we gave £400 to the Aldershot Scouts, that's for kitchen equipment. 150 along with our other colleagues to Home Start. 150, as Gaynor outlined previously, to the North Town Senior Group. And £100 for the North Lane Green Steps Walking Group. Do you want to explain what that is, Gaynor?
The Green Steps Walking Group. Yes, that's a walking group that normally meets at the North Town community base. They have different, it's not like for people with, like serious walking and mountaineering or rambling as such. It's for the more mature walker, let's say, and they have different levels from those who can do a reasonably long walk.
Yeah.
Those who do just a shorter circuit for some gentle exercise, and a lot of the point of it is also the social aspect. So they'll meet for a coffee as well.
Yeah, and they have an annual trip. They have a coach trip out and then do a seafront walk or something like that. So
nice.
And yeah,
go next time.
Yeah, and finally Wellington, where the £1,000 was given in one grant to the Vine Centre, and I think, as Alex has outlined before, what a wonderful job they do. But Alex, do you want to just explain what that money goes towards?
This was because the Vine Centre was running sessions for mental health for veterans and serving soldiers, of course, many of whom are in Wellington Ward. but they needed to extend that because of the demand from the veterans and the serving soldiers. So that was what the £1,000 was to pay for additional counselling sessions for that particular service. And that got the support from not only Nadia and myself, but also Prabesh KC, who is a Conservative councillor. And so we have the additional complexity of each year in the consideration of the ward grants, of having to negotiate, if you like, with our Conservative councillor to make sure that we all reach agreement, or we split the money available so that everyone's on board with what we're doing. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Hash, do you think that explains both the new process and where the money has been very wisely spent in the last year? It will be on the right.
Sorry. It's www.rushmore.gov.uk/grants.
Thank you. Okay, I think, Hash, does that bring us to a close?
Oh no, sorry. Could I just quickly?
Christine, you're going to do a hand. Are you going to do a handstand? Oh no. Alex.
Sure. I've had a request from a local resident to publicise. The fact that next Friday is VE Day, the 75th anniversary, and there's a campaign online. I don't know whether it's promoted by the government or what, in order to celebrate VE Day while staying at home. And there's a whole program of that. So I can pass on the poster about that to our coordinator if he wishes to feature that as well. Thank you very much.
Rather ironic that there wouldn't have been a VE Day if we'd all stayed at home.
Anyway, Christine, I think you wanted to say on a similar line, but Christine seems to have frozen.
It would be this Monday would be the bank holiday, but it was moved this year to Friday to coincide with the VE Day celebrations. Because this year's 75th anniversary of the surrender of the Nazi German, which ended the Second World War in Europe. Now, obviously, a lot was planned in all different counties, regions, all over the place. Now, obviously, because of the coronavirus, that has all come to a halt. So, yeah, what's being planned now all around the country is join your neighbours in a nationwide stay-at-home street party. So the idea is, if you've got a front garden, that we decorate the fronts of our houses in the Union Jack flag or Union flag, and we have time in our front garden and speak over a safe distance to our neighbours. So there is an advertised plan of at 11 a.m. a 2-minute silence on your doorstep, and then basically 3 p.m. grab your picnic blankets or garden tables and head out to your front garden. 4 p.m. for tea and scones or coffee and cake, and then dinner and raise a glass to your neighbours at 6 p.m. And I think that's a fabulous idea. You know, so many people have just been stuck inside, and I think, yeah, as long as everyone's sensible, sticks to their front garden at a social distance, you know, everyone can sort of talk over the fence to their neighbours and give them a cheer and have a chat. And, you know, it's something that, you know, so many people have self-isolated for so long that actually I think people are missing that social interaction. And I think this is a great chance for people to actually say hello to their neighbours as well.
I think that's really nice, and it's a really important anniversary.
Yeah, we are a nation.
If that you know, if that regime had not been beaten, you know, life would be very different for us now.
Absolutely.
So Anyone got any final points? Councillor Martin.
Yeah, can I just translate Christine's scone to scone for any northerners watching? Sorry.
Right, and next week we'll have an agenda item. Is it?
Thanks for that, Nadia.
Yeah.
I was wondering what she was talking about.
Next week we will have an agenda item, which is it cream on jam or jam on cream, but on the scone.
Scone.
Jam on cream.
Anyway, can I just thank
Scone.
my colleagues from the Rushmore Labour Group for their information and input this morning, and thank Hash as the producer director, once again the star of the show, and to any members of the public that joined us and those that watch it on YouTube. I hope you find it informative, but please let us know during the course of the week any topics you would like raised at this meeting, because we are coming forward with the topics we're picking up from the conversations we're having with while acknowledging social distancing and what we're getting on our Facebook pages. But please, if you have any key issues, please raise them with us to your ward councillors via whatever the various methods we've outlined this morning. So thank you all very much indeed, and we'll bring this to a close, and hope you can join us again next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
The scones. Scones.
Stone.
Scones, and you put the cream on.
I think